What's going on, guys? So I got a question on what is a good warm-up for jiu-jitsu. So I'm gonna share some key ideas and concepts that I think are important just for a warm-up in general, but also what can be helpful for specifically grapplers and jiu-jitsu athletes. So let's get into it. If we're talking about warm-ups, there's a couple basic elements we want to include. So the first thing is just a general movement, something to warm up the body, warm up the muscles. I want to get the blood flowing, I want to get my heart rate up a little bit. That can include riding a stationary bike, like an Airdyne. That could be some running on the mats, up and down the mats. You could do some people like to do some jumping jacks. I like to actually warm up my class by just doing a little bit of running around the mat. We'll do some running. We'll do some high knees, some butt kicks. We'll do some like side stepping. We'll switch directions, some side stepping, like going 2 steps one way, then switching 2 steps the other. So I like to do something that warms up the body, gets my blood flowing a little bit, gets my heart rate up. So that's the first thing you wanna do, is just kind of warm up that tissue, warm up those muscles. So the next thing I like to utilize are some specific joint activation, joint mobility exercises. Now, what I use are joint CARs, controlled articular rotations. You don't have to go through every joint in the body, but you may think about maybe some areas that you're gonna be focusing on the mats, or some areas where you may feel a little tight or restricted. Could be the hips. Hips are always a good option. Knees are a good option, and the spine is a good option. Some things that I utilize for CARs or specific joint mobility. So number 3, I like to do some dynamic stretches, dynamic movements. So I kind of move in and out of positions. That may be rolling back to the shoulders, and coming up to a combat base, stretching the hip flexors, just moving around, getting some good movement in the hips and the joints. A little bit of just gentle stretching, kind of load that tissue and come back and out. So being kind of easy with those, working in and out, not holding terribly long, like 3 to 5 second holds, just very brief stretches just to kind of get that dynamic movement in, get a little bit of that dynamic stretching in. The last thing you can add in would be some jiu-jitsu specific movements. Again, when you're doing those, it could be some drilling, could be some Toriano passing, X passing, hip pin passing, some guard retention drills, some butt scoots, just different things you can work on to kind of get your mind and your body kind of prepared for the activity you're gonna be doing. So I think when you're working on jiu-jitsu, you wanna work on jiu-jitsu specific movements. Again, find a good partner, training partner that you trust, so you can kind of do some pummeling, some takedown drills, whatever's comfortable for you. Start there and work in that way. So that little sequence is something I utilize. My warm-ups are gonna change kind of depending on what we're working on, depending on what I feel is kind of bugging me a little tight. So those are the elements I utilize. There's ways you can kind of hone in on different parts of those 4 things, that you can spend more time on certain elements if you choose, or whatever feels good to you. Again, you got to listen to your body, and I think doing some of the like mobility in the CARs, just a joint assessment, kind of self-assessment type stuff, you can find, man, that feels kind of tight, I need to work on that. So those are some ideas to think about. If you don't know what to do as far as warming up or even cooling down, check the link down below. I have a warm-up that I create specifically for grapplers, so that way you can kind of follow right along. It'll give you some great ideas on what to do and how to kind of utilize some of these concepts that I talked about today. That's it. Thank you for the question, and I'll talk to you guys next time.